Hello, this is One Mana Left, and this is going to be my final update on the Mjolnir character for 326. This was kind of my league start plan to then eventually pivot into my Aura Stacker character. I'm still crafting the final pieces to swap, but I've really enjoyed Mjolnir, so instead of swapping at the 65 div POB, I decided I'm just going to keep playing Mjolnir and craft my way into the 2.3 mirror POB and then swap that at that point. But I've really thoroughly enjoyed Mjolnir this league. Like the Doriani's Merc and stuff like that has helped a little bit, but it's just a good play style. It's been good to me. I've done not many upgrades on it, admittedly, since my last video 5 days ago, but that's because once again I got to that point 5 days ago, and I started putting. I felt strong enough. I put all my money into start crafting the incinerate items for the aura stack. So some of these are pretty expensive items, obviously, but I'm working on it. But I'll maybe swap as soon as tomorrow. We'll see. But I was kind of playing with the suboptimal setup. In my last video, I even talked about this. I said I'm using these Flesh Flame, Unwavering Faith. And people kept asking, well, I told you very explicitly in the video, these are not the best jewels to use. I'm literally only using them because I have them for buying them for the Aura Stacker setup. But for whatever reason, people thought I was, lying to them. And I don't know. It was weird. But the actual best jewels for this build, which I have said many times, is Righteous Providence, the crit jewels. I've said that from day one. They're in the big Mjolnir POB pre-league. They've been best in slot every single league. At every step of the way, I've said these are best in slot. And even when I was using these jewels, they went up to 130 div. And, I told people the whole time, these are not the best jewels. So, finally, I got to a point where I'm I'm probably going to try to sell my Mjolnir character as, a full character to someone. I have a guy who might buy it for, 500. But I'm maybe going to, package up the whole character to sell. So that's why I decided to do this swap last night, where I thought, instead of having a brick setup and telling him to fix it, I'm just going to spend some money fixing it, because these were 47 divs, so I bought them. And I flipped my character from 17k ES and 229 mil DPS to I'm now over half a billion DPS. I went up 2.5 times. And I have 20k energy shield. So I am much more powerful now. So I'm going to show off that much more powerful character. And before anyone asks further, I'm going to timestamp this 10-second window. If you are trying to reserve auras on a Squire, just use a level 2 Enlighten. That is 1 divine. People brick these at the temple for 1 divine. And then use Clarity, Arrogance, and a 50% aura. That's it. If you need to fit auras for Squire, just do that. If you can't figure that out, don't play the build. Get filtered, alright? If you want to use Flesh and Stone and Tempest Shield, you need a 22 Arrogance and 2 RMR jewels, and then you can fit it all in a 4-link without the Enlighten. Those are basically your 2 options. But, Squire is 2.5 times damage. Losing a 50% aura is 20% damage. Insignificant in comparison. So don't be afraid to drop an aura to go to Squire. They're cheap, and you'll still over double your damage. But I'm going to show off how strong I've got. I rolled the hardest map I could. I rolled double boss life on a fortress boss. So with my 80% whatever map mod effect scaling, I did the math on this. It will be 6.2 billion effective life on 60% delirium. So it's awake, or, it'll be 2.7 times, 1.63 times, 150 mil base, mercenary 1.5 times is 990, 4k wisps, I'm running double wisp, and then 60% delirium. I didn't go to 100 because I did the math, and 100 deli would have been 12.5 billion. I was not confident in that at 500 mil DPS, but I'm going to go for a 6 billion EHP boss, because I should take about 12 seconds to kill it. Let's hope I'm not horribly wrong here. Also, the guy who has screen shake on for the bet, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn it off for the video. Oh no, I forgot where to turn it off. Oh no. Oh no. Well, it's just going to be on for the video, I guess. Fuck it. I forgot where it is. Uh-oh, well, he got his money worth for that 100k channel points. Alright. So, this is a tanky map. Ignore the screen shake. You can cancel out the screen shake if it bothers you by just moving your head in the same motion pattern. And then it's like destructive interference, so it'll, you know, cancel out. But I'm basically here to just find the boss and show you a 6 billion HP punching bag. I'm gonna try to not, like, deliberately take any shrines that could, like, adjust my power. Like, this doesn't really do anything, right? But, by my math, we should be looking at about, you know, 12-second kill, right? Let's hope this doesn't go horribly wrong. And go. He is tanky. Alright, he's tankier than I thought. Okay, we're maybe in a little trouble. There's also RNG on the Wisps, because some of the Wisps have more DR than others. So he might have got the tankier Wisps. I think purple's the tankiest. I used 2.5 times as an approximation, because that's like the average of the 3 Wisps for tankiness. Because, like, the yellow Wisp gives them attack speed and stuff. The purple makes them the tankiest. I didn't mouse over him there, but I feel like that was purple Wisp, like, the whole way. So I might have got a little screwed on the Wisp color I got. Okay, it was like 20 seconds there, but I also might have miscalculated the 60 deli damage reduction. But you know what? It's fine. Because, you know, whatever you think on the math there, and trying to calculate the HP of that monster, it's a little harder to calculate that, just counting delirium orbs, counting wisps, whatever. There's a more known target dummy that I like to use, because we know he has 250 million base HP, which for the mercenary is 375. Which means it's that time of the video. Anyways, guys, let's do another Uber exarch. We'll get a little more clear picture of the damage here. He's gonna screw me, and he's gonna somehow do a ball phase, because he's gonna instant phase here. I need to get him during an annihilation. I need to get him to annihilate before I cloak. Annihilate. There we go. Now it's damage time. There we go. So, like, about 1 second after cloak. He had maybe a tiny bit of DR up still, but the character does a lot of damage now. I've crit swapped. I have crit multi and shield instead of controlled destruction. No longer go LA overload. Same split pathing, but I add a lethal pride up top. There's 3 spots you can add lethal pride. You can do it down here if you're going to do unnatural instinct here. The only downside is with lightning warp, you get the duration here, which so it makes your lightning warp a little less snappy. But if you're doing Mage Blood and you're doing Shock Nova plus Infused Channeling and just using Quicksilver Flask with 300 move speed and not because you don't like Lightning Warp or just because, you know, 300 move speed's enough with Cyclone, then I recommend doing the Lethal Pride down here. You get more value out of it. You can get 4 points and you get more strength from the Unnatural here. So this is better if you have not Lightning Warp. If you have Lightning Warp, you can go here, but it's not as fun to get rid of Iron Will. So I like to go up top here. You don't need to take this point. You can just focus on these 3 when you're searching for them. But when I did this swap, I went from 700 strength to 1100. And then I swapped 1 split personality to strength. I kept the other one strength mana. You can put in both the strength in, but they're 12 div, so I didn't. I just swapped the 1 because I'm at 100% crit with 1 anyways. I don't need 2. That's with Assassin's Mark, though, so the second one would give me more crit without Assassin's Mark on, like, magic monsters, but, like, no one cares on your damage on magic monsters, but... So, this is kind of the final tree setup. If I was going to take the build farther, simply I would add Mage Blood, and I'm using Purity of Elements right now to fix my res. If I did that, I would drop the Purity of Elements, because you lose stats when you go Mage Blood, because you lose the Influence Belt, right? So I would immediately drop down to like 14k mana and like 17k energy shield, right? But I would gain tankiness because I would be 84 all res, because I'd go triple Ellie Flask. So obviously like 20% DR to Ellie there. I would no longer need the Purity of Elements then, so I would add Zealotry Aura and get like 20% damage back. So I'd still gain damage even by losing mana. But then you also get the option too that I would be able to use like a Lake Telical. I just finished crafting this guy. It's the best one on the server. But this is what I would use if I was gonna get a Mage Blood and then swap to this. Because this one ring with Calander's Touch gives you like 100 Chaos Res over. Like, you'll be like 112 parentheses 75 or whatever. So, you don't need Chaos Res anywhere. I don't need Chaos Res on boots. I don't need Chaos Res anywhere on my character. I don't need my Watcher's Eye with the Purity of Elements mod. I don't need Chaos Res anywhere. I'm capped all the way to infinity. And so I have all my LA Res with Mage Blood. I have a Laked Ring with Chaos Res, Strength It, just to put my stats through the moon. Because if I had this on, that it's so much Strength in it that it actually makes up for more than this belt. So I would actually gain attributes. I would put on Mage Blood, put on this, and despite gaining a 50% aura, despite gaining Zealotry, and despite gaining plus 4 max all res, I would then also gain 45 Chaos Res up to cap, and I would still gain ES and mana. So I would be up like 50% damage and like 50% tankiness if I got a Mage Blood right now and put that ring on. But I am going to instead just opt to try to sell it and then sell the whole character, and then try to pivot into the next couple days of my Aura Stacker setup. That's the plan right now. I'll keep you guys updated, and maybe in about 2 days I'll do like a post-swap update video on the initial Aura Stacker setup, just with like what I've learned so far. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.